We were just like fly by the seat of our pants, figure this shit out as we go. It's like building the plane while you're flying.
And we're live. Dr. Courtney Baker is in the building, looking glamorous as ever. I love the backdrop. It's so professional. It's just all around good stuff.
Oh, thanks. It's so good to be here. And yeah, we're at my office today because, you know, home Wi-Fi and streaming Netflix with the kids is a little challenging. So,
Right. I know this whole shift of building your business from home, which a lot of people have been doing for quite some time, but a lot of organizations got hit like a hailstorm, you know?
yeah.
And it's very interesting to see the adaption level. Have you seen like some people, because I know your network is super vast and you have friends from all around the world in different positions. How have your friends and colleagues kind of dealt with this whole transition to the online space during these times?
You know, it's been interesting because in my world, I host a podcast and I talked about 3 different types of people reactions to how all this was going on. And there's the first one is the partiers, second one is the boomerangs, and the third one is the officers. And there's the partiers who are like hunkered down pity party, crying their eyes out, streamers up, boombox on, full blown pity party. And I get it. I mean, I've been all 3. There's no judgment. And then the second one are the boomerangs who they want Starbucks back on. Like they want to meet their friends, go hang out. Like, can we just get back to life as normal? And then the officers who had the maps, plotted out a course and said, all right, damn it, let's go. Like, here's our marching orders. Here's how we need to pivot. And so I'm really helping each one walk through that process of going, okay, where are you? Let's assess where you are and let's get to the officer and pivot.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Where did you first hear about that philosophy?
I don't know. I made that shit up.
Oh, there it is. There she is. I love that.
I mean, yeah, it's like how do we react? And I kind of went through my process of what I was dealing with, and I was like, okay, this is kind of like the steps.
And when you talk about the steps, one thing that I really enjoy about you is, number one, your level of authenticity. You know, you are who you are, and like you're just a real human, and that's amazing in today's world, just being able to just be true to yourself.
Thanks.
And I just really like how you've kind of gone through an absolute shitstorm up and down throughout your journey. It's been crazy. Like you've kind of had a lot of those major things that tend to halt people in their tracks. I mean, you're pregnant in high school, you're going through doing the whole single mom deal, going through college, and then building an organization, to your health challenges, to all of these things that derail people, but it seems to just make you stronger.
Yeah. They have. Yeah. I mean, if you want to go back, like when I was 18, I got pregnant, and I mean, I'm pretty open book. I mean, it was the first time I ever had sex, and I was 18 and I got pregnant and had my son at 19, 6 months after I graduated high school. And I went to, all my friends went to college, and I went to the Medicaid and food stamps office. And I was waiting tables, double shifts at 9 months pregnant just to make ends meet. Yeah. I mean, I've been through quite a lot.
Going through an experience like that, does that kind of just leave like a permanent tattoo in your heart and like what you're thinking about? Like, is it almost foundational just to go through something like that? I mean, obviously, I'm sure, you you love your child, and now it's great because you guys are a close age and you get to unleash the benefits of having like a really good parent-child relationship because have so much mutual things in common. But I mean, just that experience must kind of mature you very early.
Yeah. And honestly, Ian, I have always been pretty mature for my age, because when I was growing up, when I was 12, my sister was 4 years older than me, and she was 16, and she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And I helped her, like I fed her and I bathed her and I helped her walk and talk. And then when I was 16 and she was 20, she passed away. And so I really ventured into adulthood really early on. I was kind of thrown into that world. And yeah, I mean, it's you have the opportunity. I look at it like you can really hunker down and throw the I'm a victim card, or you can say, how can I use this to make me stronger? And that's what I chose to do, is really, like, I mean, it's been quite a journey, to say the
Dang.
least.
So you've been caring for people your whole life.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And now your
Yeah.
organization does that on a massive scale.
Yeah. We have about 700 employees, and they're all employees, W-2 employees. And then we also have, God, 5,000 patients we serve in 3 states, over 11 cities.
Wow. More relevant than ever during these times. And it's
Yeah.
interesting, where does the, like, before you start this company and you come up with this idea and you go through all those trials, like what were did you have any like failed businesses before that you thought were amazing ideas that you might have pivoted? Like, can you just walk us through a little bit, like that gap between post college to building that company?
It's so funny that you when you asked that, because I remembered. So when I was in just finished college, and I started doing therapy at a school district, and I realized really early on, like, this is not my calling. I am not fit for this. I had a caseload of like 83 patients. And then to kind of like get my creativity out, I started coloring a lot and making my own therapy materials. And then out of nowhere, I was like, I'm going to make jewelry. So my husband, I went and bought, and I kind of do everything like to the extreme. So I bought like every bead and everything, all these things. So I'm like making this jewelry. And I look back and I'm like, well, no wonder it failed, because it was shit. It was horrible. Like, I wouldn't have bought that. And this was right at September 11th. Like, I was working in the school district when September 11th happened. And so, the economy was in the toilet, kind of like it is right now. And um, I realized quickly that people weren't buying jewelry. So then I kind of like pivoted. And then I started doing home health and for kids, and going to kids' homes and doing therapy, and realized, like, oh my God, this is amazing. I went from a caseload of 83 to about 18 patients. And
How did you even
just,
hear about that? Like, were you just working and one day like a friend says, "Hey, why don't you try working with the kids?" And you're like, "All right, well, I'll try it out."
oh my God, that's exactly, like, she got, seriously, I'm not kidding you. She got a recruiting letter, and she was like, hey, I can't do this. I'm in grad school, but do you want to? And I was like, sure, I'll try it. So I went and I did the interview, and I got hired on the spot, but I didn't start working there right away because my husband and I were getting married. And so I started in, I want to say, July or August, and knew right away. I was like, I love this, but I don't like working for them. And decided pretty early on. I was there. I got pregnant in November, started making plans right around then to open my own company. And then in February of 2003, I kind of got complacent, and I was like, I'm pregnant. It's right after September 11th. My husband's working the night shift in a warehouse. What am I thinking? And then there was this freak ice storm in Dallas. And um, the company I worked for was holding my check because they were like, well, you didn't get your notes in on time. And I said, well, the office was closed. What are you talking about? And they were like, sorry, you're going to have to get paid next week. And my mortgage back then, like, you wrote checks, my mortgage was on the way to the bank. So my check was going to bounce, and they didn't care. And I was like, that's it. That's it. I'm done being an undervalued employee. So I parked the car on the highway of Dallas and just bawling. And I threw my hands in the air and I was like, okay, God, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll do it. I'll do it. You've laid this on my heart. I'll do it. And I'm not kidding you, Ian. Every step of the way, when it's been hard, he's shown up and said, okay, this is next. This is next. And now, to be in healthcare right now, how crazy is that? I've always been taken care of.
That's crazy. Did you bootleg the business? Like what happens from there? I mean, I'm sure you didn't have a ton of cash at the
No,
time.
my dad had given me $10,000 and I put that in my account and that's what paid my mortgage. I mean, it wasn't $10,000, but that it was the cushion to pay my mortgage. And then I had a partner who she put in $2,500 and I put in $2,500 and we started this business with $15,000.
And then what's some of the first steps you do? Do you just go out there and find like patients and then you guys just service them yourself? Is that kind of how that works?
So she was the office staff and I was the therapist. So she would and this was running out of her house. I should show you the house. It's crazy. And just only God. And so she was doing the internal work. And so I originally had 10 patients and I was doing therapy for them. And so then we got really crazy ideas about doing this guerrilla marketing strategy. So I was about to say, do you remember? And you're like, my son's age. So no, you don't. But at Staples or whatever, you have pastel paper, like the different colors of pastel paper that comes in a ream. We printed flyers on this ugly pastel paper. Does your child have trouble walking, talking, reading, writing? And paid someone $8 an hour to go around and put flyers out. And the phone started ringing. We started getting all these calls. Crazy. So our cases started, we started getting all these referrals and then we had to hire. And the first step in hiring when you're trying to scale is to hire people who can work, who can you can monetize their services. And so we hired speech therapy assistants and I would supervise. And so our cases went from 10, the 10 kids I had, to 40. And then we just kept growing. It's crazy.
And it just scaled like that. So the idea was, how many patients can you handle? How many speech therapists do you need? You probably got it down to a pretty unit economic science at that point. And then it was like,
Oh no, we were just fly by the seat of our pants, figure this shit out as we go. It's like building the plane while you're flying.
do you remember, was there a certain part that you can, once you start having this staff and you all of a sudden have this responsibility to all these humans that rely on the organization to pay their bills and feed their family, did you get to a point where you're like, yo, I'm in over my head for sure?
Over my head, I don't know if I've ever felt that, but it's been a huge responsibility that I take very, very, very seriously. So we had right away, we had probably year 2, we had a therapist commit over $100,000 in insurance fraud. And I knew it and she knew it. And I thought, you know what? I could very easily sweep this under the rug. But my speech therapy license and the people who depend on me count on me to make the right decision. And I turned us into the OIG, the Office of Inspector General. And I was like, look, here's what happened. Here's what we did. We'll pay the money back. But I just want you to know that, you can do whatever you want. You can shut us down, but here's what happened. And that was scary.
So you just had to decide, because you knew the consequences of you being transparent. But do you feel like your customers or just your clients felt that transparency and it almost strengthened it in a sense?
I didn't tell the patients, but I mean, our employees, I just said, there was a lot that went on during that time, honestly. I had 2 days after we opened the business, we were sued by our former employer. So that was fun. And then my partner and I had some ethical differences. And so, like, I was dealing with that. I was dealing with her. I was dealing with the lawsuit. I mean, it was a complete shitstorm.
The lawsuit, that you're like, you ain't sleeping right. Your health's probably deteriorating a little bit because you're just not focusing on yourself.
Well, then, I mean, it's like, how is this real life? Like, then in 2005, I had a pulmonary embolism, which is a blood clot in your lungs. And 30% of the people who have those die before they even get to the hospital, like drop dead, have no idea what even happened.
Where are you when you have that pulmonary embolism?
At home.
So you're just like, what? Like, you're just is this the story that you briefly mentioned with, no, that's a separate story. So talk about that. So you're at home, because the health stuff, like, it hits home for me. I get so, like, whenever we realize just how fragile and human we are, it's just like, oh, it's crazy. So walk
Yeah.
us through. You're doing your thing, you're doing the laundry, whatever, and all of a sudden you just feel like a tightness in your chest. Like, what happens?
I'd actually had an elective surgery and I was laying in bed, and these are pretty common when you have surgeries, if you don't get up and walk around, why it's so important. So I was laying in bed and I just kept feeling like a knife in my side. And I called my husband, and I swear to you, my dog saved my life, because my husband wasn't home, and I called him and I was like, I'm having trouble breathing. I've got this knife in my side. Like, I don't know what's going on. And my dog, I couldn't get up. And my dog was outside. And I was like, please come let her in, or him in at the time. It was a him. I said, please come let him in. I can't get up to do it. And he came and took me to the hospital. And yeah, I'd had a pulmonary embolism and had to have clotting, like it's called Coumadin, so to thin my blood.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, not nice, but
Yeah. I
pretty
mean,
dope.
it's
Pretty dope that we live in a society where you can fix that.
oh my gosh, we are so incredibly advanced when it comes to medical things here.
It's so crazy to think that the history of the world, that just in the past 30 years, like, things have changed so much. Like, to be a human in today's world at this point in time in 2020, yeah, we got the corona homie trying to rain on our parade, but just to be living it during this time where it's actually possible to live
Mhm.
to 110 years old is wild.
I know. And then I'm like, shit, I don't know if I want to be 110, because my knees have arthritis already.
Right? I bet. Yeah, I mean, the science of getting old, that's an interesting thing. It's an
Yeah.
interesting thing. But it
Yeah.
seems like love and like family and like that comes in so much more than ever before.
Oh, absolutely. It's like everything goes into focus when that happens. And that really is what happened when I had in 2012, when I had my stroke. Um I I was at home on that one, and um just I had started the month before that. And I don't know if you and I had talked about this, but the month before that, I had started my doctoral program at Pepperdine. And I decided, like, I really wanted to focus on what I could do to make that little 19-year-old self feel worthy. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back to school and I'm going to get my doctorate degree. And I chose Pepperdine in their organizational leadership program, because I knew I wasn't going to be a therapist anymore, but what could I do to be a better leader? And so I studied women's leadership, but I started the program in August of 2012. And in September, a month later, let me back up. So I started the program in August, and in orientation, I was asked, all of us were asked to write our 80th birthday toast. What would we want to hear about the person we had been at our birthday when we're 80? And I realized during that time that I was like, oh my God, I am not living as the person that I want to be remembered for. And it hit me. And then a month later, I had a stroke in 2 places and had a 7-hour brain surgery. And it hit me during that transition, like, when that recovery process, that could have been what people remembered me for right then. If that had been my last day, my last breath. And that was not, and I was like, that's not what I want to be remembered for. And so it took me a while. But I quit drinking in May. It'll be 4 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I
Was
got my
that
life back.
was that like your only vice?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that and work. I love to work. And actually in 2012 was when I transitioned out of the daily operations of KidsCare, and then went back to school for leadership, and then studied women's leadership and the challenges, why there are so few women in the top levels of leadership. And my research found that there are 4 main challenges that women go through. And then I started digging further in the research and found that women are estimated more than 100 years away from gender equality at the C level. And that pissed me off because I have 2 more kids. I have 2 daughters who are 12 and 16. And I was like, what can I do to decrease the gender gap for them? And so now I coach and mentor women to start and scale their own businesses, service-based businesses. And so yeah, but right after I finished my doctorate, I didn't have anything to do. And I'm a doer. I'm completely 100% busy, busy, busy all the time. And it was really hard for me because I had to sit still. And that's hard.
I
So I
know.
started drinking.
How, what's drinking? How many, what's an average now? Are you ripping 4 drinks, 5 drinks? Is it just a glass of wine?
Oh no, it was 2 bottles before 2:00 in the afternoon.
That's so savage of you, first of all. Wow.
I told you I'm balls to the wall, make it happen.
Damn, dude. Meeting you, if college you had gotten that must have been an interesting human.
Well, I didn't drink a whole lot in college because I had my son. He was 2 when I went to school. I was taking backpack on me and backpack on him.
I feel at some degree, when it comes to say marijuana, drugs, alcohol, every human discovers these things at some point in their life. A lot of people discover it at an earlier stage, which I think is what college in particular is great, because you kind of get it out of your system and learn.
Mm-hmm.
But some people discover these things in later stages, 35, 40. And I feel you got to almost, become a pothead, become an alcoholic, become a druggie, just to be able to say no to all those things and gain refocus in your life. But that's just a theory.
I would go with that. Because, I was probably, God, how old was I? It's probably, I'm 45, so I was 41. I was 37 when I had the stroke. I was 41 when I quit drinking. So, yeah, and I never experienced that in college. But see, I stayed away from the hard drugs because I knew I am such a, all or nothing kind of person. I was like, that'll be the end of me if I do that. So, I'll just drink.
That is a common attribute of super top performers. They'll get addicted to whatever they do, both good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
And it's if you don't check yourself out the door, it's you don't just smoke a cigarette every once in a while or a cigar. You're a full-fledged getting the hole in the throat and you're going in. It's you're making it a big deal. And like you said, you're a workaholic and you enjoy success and making moves and obviously, you've achieved pretty much like in terms of life, like all the possessions you own and the house and the lifestyle. I mean, it's as pinnacles, but you've achieved that years ago. What
Mm-hmm.
happens when you hit that point where you have everything that you think you ever wanted? And I'm sure like you come to a point where you might be bored, or you just might be like, I need something new. Is that kind of where a transition went into helping women, or
Mm-hmm.
is that where that was?
Yeah, really. It was like, what can I do? And honestly, I see a lot of business coaches out there who may know pieces of business, but because I've been doing this for 20 years, I can pull all that together. And that's what I really wanted to do, was offer, if you want to scale your business, let me walk you through that journey, because I've been there. And yeah, I mean, if I don't help women open and scale their own businesses, then I feel like I haven't served my purpose here.
Interesting. And it's also interesting too, because if you can help very, very successful people scale their business, get their business off the ground, you can also have such a bigger impact. And that's why accelerators have been really interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like different programs that do these accelerator programs. Now there's good and bad about all of these things, right? Like good in the sense that you can mutually benefit off of helping a company get to its next level. Bad in the sense that companies can get taken advantage of. But
Yeah.
that's like everything in the world, right? That's every sales pitch out there. There's people out there that, you got to judge their character and stuff. But being able to do the whole Shark Tank philosophy of being able to then invest your hard-earned dollars and your time and your experience into people that could be the next Elons and the next Courtney Bakers and the people that are leaders in our society that are making moves, that's like such a dream. Like to get to a point in your life when you've had that success, you've built the company, you've scaled the company, you've seen the ups and downs, the ugly, the south, you've been through the emotional challenge, your brain just becomes diamond and hardened by the experience, and then trying to get people to go through it. I guess I'm curious, is there a way, even in your greatest leadership coaching and mentoring, is there a way to truly be able to coach someone to almost have them become the output of going through those challenges without having to go through those challenges? Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, does somebody have to go through it themselves to truly understand it?
I think maybe to understand it, but I can shave and help them shave so much time off their learning curve, if that makes sense. So, also the connections, that I have. It's like opening the Rolodex and saying, here are all the people. I've vetted them. You don't have to do your own research. Here you go. And also, marketing strategies and looking at financials and understanding that, like saying, no, that you may be uncomfortable with math, but I don't care. You get comfortable. If you're a business owner, you got to get comfortable. It's having those conversations where I don't want you to have to lose $3 million overnight like I did in, 20, what, I don't even remember what year it was, 2017. Yes, I do.
What caused that?
I'm in healthcare, and we are government related, and changes in the funding. And so, I mean, it was to no fault of our own. It was just changes in regulations that reduced our funding by 27%, like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How have the current times with Corona and stuff impacted your business?
We pivoted in 3 days. And that's the thing, like I have built with an incredible team. I mean, I have built an incredible team. And that's the thing, like you always hire smarter than you. Because if you don't hire smarter than you and you're scared of like someone's intellect, then you'd rather them be on your team than your competition. So my executive leadership team is phenomenal. And yeah, we pivoted to telemedicine in 3 days.
And your organization, you said, is 700 plus, and you pivoted a 700 plus organization in 3 days.
Mhm.
So was that pivot from particularly like, how can you explain kind of what that looked like?
Yeah, my president is the VP. Well, he used to be VP of IT and finance, and now he's over the entire operation. So I can do whatever I love to do.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually doubles as my brother-in-law, so that helps. And yeah, I mean, he kind of saw things coming and he also had army training, so he's kind of like just this perfect, you know, diamond in my organization. And he saw it coming in Wuhan and said, this is going to come, what do we need to do? And when it hit here and then we went to lockdown, he'd already thought about, like, we need to go to telemedicine. What do we need to do with our infrastructure? How do we port our phones out to other people? Like, he'd already thought about it all.
That's amazing. And he just got straight militant with the organization. Like, listen up, y'all.
Yeah.
We're about to go lockdown.
Yeah. I mean, it was amazing.
Do you, is there a part of you that kind of like the whole idea of like the zombie apocalypse and the end of the world? That's just kind of like, not in a bad way, but is almost fascinating.
I have never been into that. It's more like the rapture and like who's going to be here one day and gone the next and be like, where'd they go? You know, that kind of thing. But no, I mean, honestly, I think that there's so much at play in all of this that we just don't even have a clue.
Interesting. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, in general, pandemics, we're very not too versed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is a baby one compared to what past ones have been.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's taken a toll on the economy. And I feel so, like, just for these entrepreneurs who are, you know, dealing with the business ramifications. And, you know, and the other thing, like what you were talking about that whole Shark Tank thing, it's like, you know, a lot of those people come in and they straight up want like part of your company. They want equity. And then it's like, if you have given someone equity in your organization, you don't even have complete control. And so to have equity and to lack control in something like this, it's like, it's just the perfect storm.
The perfect storm of being in putting yourself in a tough situation.
Yeah, of a shitty storm. Yeah.
That does seem to be a common denominator of young entrepreneurs, that they can learn from experienced entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
Because you run in the situation where it's like, it makes sense. You know, you're naive. And I don't have a deep experience inside of my own businesses in this particular field, but from the people I've talked to on the podcast and all my connections that are like, have founded these larger organizations, they do mention that there's one or two early decisions that cost them a ton down the line. And it's hard for us to picture that scale, because it's like, at the time, it seems like the thing that's going to keep us afloat. And when you're just trying to stay afloat, you're just trying to stay in business, you tend to make tough decisions. And then, you know, entrepreneurs, investors take advantage of those decisions. Not all of them. Some of them are helpful, but that's the nature of humans, right? It's like finding good opportunities, investing in good people. That's a tough thing. Finding good people, right? Like finding good people and then the whole idea of not getting too like engulfed into somebody that you don't see past the obviouses. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, look at Elizabeth Holmes. Like, how many people lost a shit ton of money with that? You know what I'm talking about, right?
That's the girl who Theranos, yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, she had everyone snowed. And it's like, how do you vet for those, you know, those kinds of but I think if people looked below the surface, because I'm listening to a podcast about her, and I think if you look below the surface and see those things that you don't want to see, but they start coming up as trends, there's some truth to that.
Yeah, I like the whole phrase I hear a lot: fire fast, hire slow.
Yes, absolutely. And vet Like, do your research. If they give you references, call them all. Find out what their relationship is to them. Don't call their mom, because their mom's going to tell you they're great. Find out the people who are business references, not personal references.
Interesting. Yeah,
Mhm.
little things to just continue the journey, make smarter decisions, and save you a ton of headache and strokes in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, there's so much value in finding out how long someone's journey has been. And when you're looking at someone to coach you who's just started, then they're taking you on the journey with them.
True. I like the way you like teach.
Thanks.
You say a lot in a little words.
I think it's my Enneagram 8. Like, I am to the point, get it done. Yeah, I like to speak in bullet points and not paragraphs.
Right. But I mean, it comes from years of people probably wasting your time.
Yeah, it really does. It does. And I try to be also like patient and like wait it out, but it's like, okay, let's giddy up. That's my motto, giddy up.
Giddy up. That's so Texas of you.
Yeah, thanks.
Dallas is the spot, huh? Like
Yeah.
people like love Dallas.
Yeah, it's always been home. I did do some time in Illinois for about 6 years for school, and came home as soon as I could.
Interesting. I haven't
Yeah.
spent a lot of time there.
Yeah.
California has its ups, has its downs. Every state has its ups and downs. I guess it really comes down to what feels like home.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does.
Does your whole family live there?
My whole family.
Are you are
Yeah.
you are you tight with your family? Like overall, would you consider yourself to have like a super tight fam?
I was or am now. I mean, it was just me and my sister. So I am now an only child. I have 3 stepbrothers, and I'm tight with them, but not I mean, I was taught to be so independent. I was raised super independent. My
Yeah.
dad and my stepmom raised me. And the motto growing up was, don't get your ass into anything you can't get your ass out of. And so I realized really early on I was going to have to sink or swim. So I learned to swim.
Damn, that's a really good motto.
Yeah.
I could just think about so many situations in my life where if I just said that to myself first, I'd be like, yeah.
I might not want to do that then. Yeah, that was kind of what happened when I got pregnant. I mean, it was like, well, what are you going to do about this? And I knew with all the loss that I'd already experienced with my sister that I couldn't do anything except raise him. And I had a foster or an adoptive family picked out. I had my 7th grade math teacher was going to adopt him. And I felt him move for the first time, and I was like, I just can't do it. And I had no idea how I was going to make it work, but I did.
Yeah. Gentlemen, we will never know.
Yeah. He's 26 now, and just he lives in Austin, and he's my baby boy. He will always be my baby boy.
It's crazy what people and family motivates people to do stuff, right? When you have responsibility, it motivates you to do stuff, even if it's a dog or an animal. It's like
Mm-hmm.
having focus, like being a business owner, you have responsibility, you have focus. It's like the
Yeah.
people in life that don't have things that mean a lot to them don't have meaningful lives.
Agreed. There's so much. And my kids make fun of my dog because they said he's my favorite child. And I'm like, well, kind of is. But he's like my emotional support dog, because I don't know about you, Ian, but I mean, as an entrepreneur, as a creative entrepreneur, there's a lot of mental ups and downs that come with it as well. And I mean, I've struggled with depression my whole life. And so he's really like who gets me through those hard days. Sometimes when it's hard, I'm like, well, Jackson loves me. Jackson's my dog. And it's just, it's also being real enough with yourself that people can connect with that, because they stand in awe of your success, but they really connect with your struggles. And it hasn't been all, Texas Businesswoman of the Year and amazingness. I mean, there's been some hard roads.
That's so interesting because it's so hard to open up about those things.
I don't find it hard. I mean, like I said, I'm an open book, and I tell, the young women that I mentor, you know, I, I want you to have these amazing experiences and learn, but I also want you to know that I'm not going to sugarcoat things.
I think it's easy when you've made it out the other side to talk about it. It's so easy then. It's like, this is where I was. I was down in the gutters, but then feel, felt, found. What I found was XXX happened. And now all of a sudden that situation's like, that's easy to talk about. But when you're in the depth, when you're in the heat of it, it's tough to talk about it, because it's almost interesting because people don't want to come off. I mean, I even find that sometimes with my own life and like own health and stuff like that. Like, I don't like to talk about situations I go through simply because I don't want to be negative. Like, I'd rather think positive about every aspect of my life and just constantly angle in. And that's why I'm all about, it's a damn good day. Like, you know what I mean? So there's like that fine line, but people that only think like manically positive end up sometimes being some of the most sad people. And
Yeah.
that's so interesting.
Comedians, are some of the most sad people. And I think that we also, if you don't allow yourself to go down that road and have those, it may not be a damn good day. And I'm going to sit here in my not damn good day and just let myself experience this, then that pulls the whole color wheel of life, of emotions. Because how can you tell it's a damn good day if you've never had a damn shitty day?
Well, you only appreciate good days because of shitty days.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the whole only child effect of pampered. If you're pampered your whole life, not all only childs are like this, but it's just the idea is that if you're pampered, you just never have struggles. You never see the happy medium. If you always are eating straight octopus every night, then you'll never understand the beauty of just a bomb taco.
Yeah. Yeah. Or spam. Or, like beanie weenies. I mean, and I really see that even in my own kids. Landon has such bigger appreciation for what we went through together when we were, just growing up together, honestly. And my daughters really have been afforded such nicer things, but don't have the appreciation, I don't think.
You gave me such an idea. I don't know if it's, we'll see what happens, but maybe one day creating a subset of It's a Damn Good Day to It's Not a Damn Good Day.
Yeah. And you could wear your shirt based on how you feel and then go, okay, it's better now. I'm going to change my shirt.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Very interesting.
At some point. So, Dr. Courtney Baker,
Ian.
if you could go back in time and you could look back at all the experiences you've had, maybe I wouldn't say right when you got pregnant because you're still so young at that point, but let's talk like 21, 22 as if just out of college, and you could have said to yourself 1, 2, or 3 things that could have saved you a ton of time, money, heartache, headache. And one of the best answers is I wouldn't have said anything because it's made me who I am, just like we talked about. But because of the lack of juice in that answer, what are some things that you would possibly tell yourself?
One, well, let me give you this. I see life and our hard parts as tunnels. And what happens is we get to the middle and we go back to what we know. But we don't realize, because the middle is the darkest, that it's the equidistance to the end, the light at the end of the tunnel. And it's the same amount of time. So if we just keep going, the light is there. And for me, the light's Jesus. He's always been there through everything and shown up. And he's the only thing in my life that I have found that can take a big pile of manure and make flowers.
And everybody's going to have a different light.
Yeah. And that's why I said, for me, it's Jesus.
And I like that you said that, because it's like, it's the half cup filled, half cup down. You know, it's like all this shit's hitting the storm. It's only giving you freaking influence. It's giving you perspective, and there's power in perspective. You know, there's an art of having true perspective.
Yeah. I just saw a meme that was like, I've never met a strong person with an easy past.
Damn. There it is. Cut it off there. That's it. We're out. We out. Boom. Hit it.
Mic drop.
Courtney, how, if you could say one thing to people that are right on the fence of diving in and starting their own business, maybe they're currently working a 9-to-5 gig, or, you know, they just want to jump in and follow their dreams, and they're just like where you were on that highway that one day. What would be one, you know, advice tip to them to maybe help them get clarity on jumping in?
Find a mentor. Call me. Give me something to do.
I love that. That's strong. I appreciate you. I appreciate the conversations. You're good people.
Thanks.
I can't wait to go out to Texas and be able to just hit you up out of the blue, be like, yo, guess what? What's up? What's up? And
I know, it's a damn good day.
I know, we got to get you some of the gear, you know, get you. We'll definitely be sending you one of these bad boys.
Perfect.
And I just really appreciate you. This has been a really fruitful conversation. You're real, you're deep, you're authentic. I can tell why your podcast is so successful. I can tell why you've created such a massive organization in a space that is both needed, but is also hard to navigate. You know, the healthcare system is crazy. Some people, it's a saving grace, but for others, it's their worst nightmare. And for you to be able to go into that industry and build a meaningful company and business and inspire people is truly awesome for your legacy. So keep on keeping on, girl.
Thank you. It was so good to be here with you.
And how can people continue to follow if they want to, you know, check you out with your leadership development, if they want to follow you on social media, or just anything moving forward?
Yeah, I host the Women in Business podcast, and you can reach me, Courtney, C-O-R, no you, my mom didn't know how to spell it, CORTNEY at CourtneyBaker.com.
There it is. All right. I appreciate you. Till next time.
That's right.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Len Jones Party of Two. If you enjoyed it, please leave us a review and subscribe to stay up to date on our new episodes. And remember, hope is not a strategy. Keep making moves. Till next time, peace.